The Queen and the Mouse. Once upon a time, there was a king, a queen, and their little baby daughter, and they lived happily and ruled well. But sadly, for there to be a story, something terrible had to happen. And an evil king from a neighboring country came and waged war and invaded their lands. Now the king went off to fight and fought bravely, but the evil king had more power, more money, and many more soldiers. And the king was killed in battle, and the evil king came in with his invading army and took over the palace, and took the queen and the little princess. Now the queen had been holding her daughter, standing straight and tall in the throne room, expecting the king to come, knowing there was nothing she could do about it, but knowing that she would die with her head held high and her eyes open. But instead, the evil king marched straight up to her and grabbed the baby princess out of her arms. "No," said the queen, "no, no," and she tried to jump on the king, but the guards held her back. "Just kill me, kill us," she said, "but leave my daughter alone." Said the king, and the little princess started screaming and crying and wailing. "Ugh," he said, shoving her back into her mother's arms. "Well, is she going to be pretty when she grows up?" "What do you care?" cried the queen. "You're going to kill us anyway." "I want to know," said the king, "because if she's pretty, then she can marry my son, and then I'll let you live. But if she's not, then you'll die right now." "She's going to be hideous," said the queen. "She's going to be the ugliest person you could ever imagine." Because the queen didn't want her daughter to be condemned to the horrid fate of marrying the king's wretched son, who kicked dogs and cats and ripped up flowers, and who already, at the age that he was, showed that he was going to be just as bad, if not worse, as his father. It would be better to die. "Ha," said the king. "You can't know that, but I know who can." And he called for a fairy to be brought forth into the palace. The fairy protested, because fairies do have magic, but unfortunately not enough magic to defeat an evil king and his armies all by themselves. And so the fairy was dragged, protesting and screeching, into the palace, and the king shoved the fairy in front of the queen and said, "Well, take a good look. Is she going to be pretty or not?" "Yes," said the fairy, "she's going to be spectacularly beautiful, and not only, but that's not the important thing. She is going to have a good heart, and she's going to be what? Yeah, whatever, I don't care. As long as she's pretty, that's what I care about. All right, you can live." And the king sent the queen and her baby princess to live in the tallest and the highest attic of the highest tower, all by themselves. The door was slammed shut and locked from the outside. And only once a day, in the evening, a servant would slide a plate of food under the door. Now the queen held her baby and wept bitter tears, because she couldn't imagine her daughter growing up, imprisoned in this terrible place, and having to be condemned to that terrible fate of marrying that wretched boy. What a horrid future for her. And not only that, when she saw the plate of food, she started crying even worse. It wasn't food, it was just 3 peas. That wasn't nearly enough. Well, the queen took 2 of the peas and carefully put them in her little baby's mouth, and took the last little pea, and her stomach growled. And just then she heard, and the queen looked and saw, out of a hole in the floor, a tiny little mouse scurrying out, poking its nose, whiskers, big pink ears. "Oh, little mouse," said the queen, her heart breaking, "there's nothing for you here. You should go down to the kitchens where the food is, and now I don't even have food to feed a mouse." And the queen started to cry. But the little mouse scurried right up to her and crawled up onto her knee and looked up and wiggled its nose and wiggled its whiskers, and suddenly the little mouse stood up on her hind legs and started to dance. Look at that, said the queen, staring at the little mouse who was turning somersaults and standing on her legs and twirling around. And before she knew it, the queen was laughing. Oh, little mouse, she said, holding her in her hand. Wow, I never thought I would laugh again in my life. You have given me such a beautiful, beautiful gift. Thank you. I wish I had more to give you, but here, take my pea. And I hope to see you again. The little mouse nibbled up the pea and scurried out through the hole in the floor and disappeared. The queen went to pick up the empty plate to push it back under the door, but magically, the plate had filled up with all of the queen's favorite foods, and in fact, there was a bowl of milk for the baby, and there was even some applesauce. There was everything the queen could need. And the queen ate until she was full and fed her baby daughter, and only then did she put the empty plate back under the door. But the next day, even though she was full now, the queen saw the future stretching out before them, and she was filled with despair. And that evening, when the plate with 3 peas on it was pushed under the door and the little mouse scurried out, the queen looked at the little mouse and just started to cry. Oh, my dear friend, she said. Even if you dance now, I can't laugh. I only see blackness, darkness in the future. I only see the years stretching out ahead, and I miss my husband so much, and I'm worried about my people. How must they be suffering? And she just spilled out all her heart. And the little mouse sat on her knee and listened. And by the time the queen had poured out all the things that were troubling her, she felt like a weight had been lifted off of her heart. And she said, "Little mouse, I didn't think I could possibly feel better, but I do. You've given me such a beautiful gift. I just needed to be listened to right now. Thank you. I wish I had more to give you, but the food has disappeared. All I have is this 1 pea, and I hope I see you again." The little mouse nibbled up the pea, scurried out the hole, and when the queen went to push the empty plate back under the door, once again, it was full of food. And the days passed like this, and the queen grew to love the little mouse, and looked forward to every evening when the mouse would come. But one day, the queen was staring out the window, looking down, wishing, oh, if only I had some way to lower my baby daughter out this window. She could fit through the bars. I can't, but she could. And if only there was some kind stranger passing by who could take her and raise her as their own, at least I would free her from this terrible fate. Even if I never saw her again, it would be better than this. The little mouse listened, and then scurried out through the hole and came back, pushing a little bundle of straw. "What are you doing?" said the queen. "Are you going to build a nest here?" The mouse scurried back out through the hole and came back pushing some more straw, and suddenly the queen realized, "Oh, Mouse, you're a genius!" And she took the straw and started weaving it together to make a little basket. Every day, the mouse would bring her more and more straw until the queen had enough to not only make a basket that her baby daughter would fit into, but also a strong, sturdy rope that she could lower the basket out the window with. And every day, she watched out the window, waiting for somebody to come by, somebody to give her daughter to, somebody who looked kind and caring. But nobody came, because the evil king was harsh and cruel, and people were afraid of going near the palace. And days passed, and she didn't see a single soul. And finally, she was starting to lose hope, when finally, suddenly, an old woman came walking past. And this old woman looked poor, but neat. She was wearing clean clothes, and she had some flowers in her gray hair. She looked sweet, like a grandmother, and she was humming to herself as she walked along. "Hello!" cried the queen. "Hello! Oh, please, please, can you help me?" The old woman, "Up here." "Oh, your Majesty!" cried the old lady. "Your alive! We thought that the king had killed you! Oh, I'm so happy! Know that there are many of us in the kingdom still praying for you every day and hoping that you'll be all right." "Oh, thank you," cried the queen. "You don't know how happy this makes me. Oh, if you are one of my loyal subjects, I need your help." "Anything," cried the old lady. "Anything for you, my queen." "Oh, would you take my baby daughter and raise her and take her far away from here?" "Oh, my queen," said the old lady, there would be nothing I would love better. It would be very dangerous, yes, and I know that if the evil king found me, then he would kill me and my family too, but it's worth the risk. I will do this for you and for the princess. I don't have much, but I promise that she will be raised well and taught good things, and she will live a simple life, but a free one and a good one." "That's exactly what I need," said the queen. "Oh, thank you. I wish I could give you something in return. I have nothing. I have no jewels or crown, but I wish I could reward you." "Well," said the old lady, "actually, I think there is something that you could do for me. It's not much, but I think it is something that you have up there with you that could really, really help me." "Anything!" cried the queen. "I don't have anything here, but anything that I do have I will gladly give you. What is it?" "Well," said the old lady, it's going to sound very, very strange. Please don't think I'm crazy. You see, I have a cat. Oh, she's the sweetest, softest cat. Your daughter's going to love her, I'm sure. And she loves children, but she's a very old cat, and she can't catch mice anymore. Now, I would love to give my cat a mouse for her to play with and to finally eat, and so that she will be happy. But I'm too old and mice are too fast and I can't catch them. I'm sure that up in that dratty old attic you must be full of mice, have more than any you could do with, and I'm sure that for you, being young and quick, it will be easy to catch one and just kill it and put it in the basket and put it down with your baby. That's all." "Oh," said the queen. "Well, yes, there is a mouse up here, but she's my friend. I couldn't possibly kill her." "What?" said the old woman. "You say you do have a mouse, but you won't give it to me? When it's all I'm asking, I'm willing to risk my life to save your baby, and you're not even willing to kill a mouse? Maybe you're not as good of a queen as I thought you were. Maybe you don't deserve my help. I'll let you think about it. Choose wisely. What is worth more to you, your daughter or a mouse? I'll come back tonight, and I'll expect your answer." And the old woman hobbled away. And that evening, when the little mouse came out to visit her friend the queen, she found the queen sitting in shock, just staring at nothing. The little mouse crawled up onto her knee and looked at her, and the queen picked up the little mouse in her hands. It would be so easy, and she probably wouldn't get another chance. And the queen started to cry. "Oh, my little mouse," she said, "you have no idea how much your friendship is costing me. But even though it costs me, I cannot hurt you. You're my friend. I can't even think of it." And the queen covered her face in her hands and wept. And suddenly she felt a wind, and she opened her eyes, and standing before her was a fairy. None other than the same fairy that had said so many months ago that the princess would grow up to be beautiful and kind-hearted. "Don't cry, queen," said the fairy. "Come." The queen stood up. "But what happened? What is this?" Well, said the fairy, you see, I wanted to help you from the very first moment when that evil king dragged me to see you. I wanted to help you and your little daughter. But there is one thing that for us fairies, we can get many things with our magic, but one thing we can't obtain easily is friends. Because when people know that we're fairies, they're always asking us for stuff, and they pretend to be nice to us only so that we'll help them out. But I needed to have a friend who was someone true. And so I decided to test you. I was the little mouse. Because you see, if you befriended someone as lowly as a little mouse who had really nothing of value or significance to give you, then you could truly be a friend to a fairy. And I needed to test you even more. I too was the old woman, to see whether you would be true to your friend or not. And seeing as how you have been faithful to your friend, a mouse, I know that you will be a true friend to me. And I don't have enough magic to defeat that king by myself, but I do have enough magic to get us out of here and to help you round up an army from all of your people. And that was exactly what they did. The people who had been suffering all this time were overjoyed to see their queen, and they rallied behind her, and with a great battle cry, all the men, young and old, and all the women too, and even all the children, picked up stones and axes and hoes and whatever they could find, and all together they were a larger and more powerful army than the king's trained soldiers. And they burst open the doors, and they defeated the guards, and they took the king and his dreaded son, and they killed them. And they took the kingdom back. And the queen was placed upon the throne. The people shouted out, sung out her name, and the fairy stayed with her by her side. That queen ruled long and well, and the fairy by her side was always her friend, giving her the best advice. And they lived happily ever after.